Hey everyone! Welcome back to Story Hive. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Let's jump into today's story. I left my family after years of being the disappointing child. Now my golden child sister has fallen from grace. I, 25, have always been the black sheep of my family. My older sister Emma, 28, has been the golden child for as long as I can remember. Our parents, especially our mom, have always favored her over me. It's been this way since we were kids, and it's only gotten worse as we've grown older. Growing up, Emma was always the star student, the popular girl, and the one who seemed to excel at everything she tried. She was captain of the cheerleading squad, got straight A's, and was even voted prom queen. Meanwhile, I struggled with school, had a small group of friends, and preferred spending time in the art room rather than at social events. Our parents never missed a chance to compare us. "Why can't you be more like Emma?" was a phrase I heard all too often. They'd praise her accomplishments endlessly while barely acknowledging mine. When I got a B on a test, they'd ask why it wasn't an A. When Emma got an A, they'd throw a celebration dinner. This pattern continued into our adult lives. Emma went to an Ivy League college on a scholarship, while I chose a state school to study art. Our parents were thrilled about Emma's choice but skeptical about mine. They constantly questioned my decision, asking if I was sure I could make a living as an artist. I remember the day I told them about my college choice. We were sitting at the dinner table, and I had spent weeks gathering courage to share my decision. When I finally told them, my dad's face fell, and my mom looked like she might cry. Emma, of course, chimed in with, "Are you sure that's a good idea? Art school isn't exactly known for job security." My parents nodded in agreement, and I felt my dreams crumbling before my eyes. Despite their disapproval, I stuck to my decision. Those 4 years in college were some of the best of my life. I finally felt like I belonged somewhere, surrounded by people who understood and appreciated creativity. I thrived in my classes, even making the dean's list several times. But whenever I shared these achievements with my family, they were met with warm responses. "That's nice, dear," my mom would say before quickly changing the subject to Emma's latest accomplishment. After college, Emma landed a high-paying job at a prestigious law firm in the city. I, on the other hand, struggled to find my footing. I worked various part-time jobs while trying to establish myself as a freelance illustrator. Our parents were always eager to hear about Emma's latest case or promotion, but they changed the subject when I tried to talk about my art projects. I remember one particularly painful family dinner about 6 months after graduation. Emma was visiting from the city, and our parents had prepared her favorite meal. The entire conversation revolved around her recent win in court. My mom kept saying how proud she was, and my dad couldn't stop grinning. When I tried to share about a small illustration job I had landed for a local magazine, my mom cut me off mid-sentence to ask Emma about her plans for buying an apartment. The situation at home became unbearable. I was still living with our parents to save money, but the constant comparisons and subtle put-downs were taking a toll on my mental health. Emma had her own apartment in the city, paid for by our parents, of course. Every time she visited, it was like a royal arrival. Our parents would spend days preparing, cleaning the house, and cooking her favorite meals. When she walked in the door, they'd greet her with hugs and excited chatter. My presence, on the other hand, often felt like an afterthought. I tried to talk to them about how I felt several times, but it never went well. They'd accuse me of being jealous of Emma's success or tell me I was being too sensitive. "We just want what's best for you," they'd say, which always felt like code for "we want you to be more like Emma." The constant comparisons affected every aspect of my life. I started doubting my choices, my abilities, and even my worth as a person. There were days when I could barely get out of bed, overwhelmed by feelings of inadequacy and failure. I began to withdraw from my friends, embarrassed by my lack of success compared to my sister. Even my love life wasn't safe from their criticism. When I brought home my first serious boyfriend in college, an art student like me, my parents were less than impressed. They spent the entire dinner grilling him. Meanwhile, when Emma brought home her boyfriend, a law student from a wealthy family, my parents practically rolled out the red carpet. Things came to a head last week. I had finally landed a significant illustration project for a children's book series. It wasn't a huge paycheck, but it was a step in the right direction for my career. I was excited to share the news with my family at dinner. As usual, the conversation revolved around Emma's latest achievements. She had just won a big case at work and was being considered for a promotion. Our parents couldn't stop gushing about how proud they were. When there was finally a lull in the conversation, I took my chance. I told them about my illustration project, trying to contain my excitement. My mom's response: "That's nice, dear, but don't you think it's time you got a real job? You're not getting any younger, you know." My dad just nodded in agreement. I was crushed. I tried to explain that this was a real job, that it could lead to more opportunities in the future, but they weren't listening. Emma chimed in, saying she could probably get me an entry-level position at her law firm if I wanted a stable career. That was the last straw. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. I told them I was tired of being treated like a disappointment, that I was proud of my work and my choices. I said I couldn't stay in a house where I was constantly made to feel inferior. My parents looked shocked. My mom started to say something about how I was being overly sensitive, but I cut her off. I told them I was moving out, that I'd rather struggle on my own than live with their constant disapproval. Emma tried to play peacemaker, telling me to calm down and not make rash decisions, but I could see the smug look in her eyes. She was enjoying being the perfect daughter while I was the family disappointment. I stormed up to my room and started packing. My parents and Emma followed, trying to talk me out of it, but their words only confirmed what I already knew. They saw me as a failure, a burden. My mom even had the audacity to say, "If you leave now, don't expect us to help you when you can't make rent." As I was throwing clothes into a suitcase, memories flooded my mind. The time I won a local art competition in high school, and my parents didn't even come to the award ceremony because it clashed with one of Emma's debate tournaments. The countless times they'd introduced Emma as our daughter, the lawyer, and me as just our other daughter. The look of disappointment on their faces when I chose. That night I left with whatever I could fit in my car. As I drove away, I saw my parents and Emma standing in the doorway. My mom was crying, my dad looked angry, and Emma just looked smug. I felt a mix of emotions: sadness, anger, fear, but also a strange sense of relief. I'm currently staying with a friend, trying to figure out my next move. I know leaving was drastic, but I couldn't take it anymore. Am I overreacting? Should I have stayed and tried to make them understand, or was leaving the right choice? I feel lost and alone, but also somewhat relieved to be out of that toxic environment. The thought of building a life on my own terms is both exciting and terrifying. I'm scared about how I'll manage financially, but I'm also looking forward to pursuing my art without constant criticism and comparisons. Any advice or support would be appreciated. How do I move forward from here? How do I build a life for myself while dealing with the emotional fallout of leaving my family? And most importantly, how do I start believing in myself after years of being made to feel like I'm not good enough? Update 1. It's been about 2 months since I left my parents' house, and a lot has happened. I wanted to update you all and thank you for your support and advice. Your kind words and encouragement have been a lifeline during this challenging time. After I left, I spent a week crashing on my friend's couch while I looked for a more permanent solution. It was tough, but I managed to find a tiny studio apartment that I could just barely afford with my savings, and the income from my illustration project. It's not much, but it's mine, and for the first time in my life, I feel like I have my own space. The first few weeks were hard. I threw myself into my work, determined to prove to myself and maybe to my family that I could make it on my own. I picked up a part-time job at a local coffee shop to supplement my income from illustration work. Between the two jobs, I was working almost constantly, but it felt good to be self-sufficient. There were nights when I'd come home exhausted, my hands aching from hours of drawing and my mind buzzing from the stress of juggling two jobs. But those moments were also filled with a sense of accomplishment that I hadn't felt in years. I started reconnecting with old friends who had drifted away during the years I spent feeling inadequate. It was refreshing to talk to people who saw me for who I am, not who I'm compared to. Their support and understanding have been a huge boost to my confidence. I've also been taking better care of myself, focusing on my mental health. I started therapy, which has been incredibly helpful in working through my feelings of self-doubt and the impact of my family's favoritism. I'm learning to set boundaries and to prioritize my own needs, something I never felt I could do before. As for my family, I haven't had much contact with them. I did receive a few messages from Emma and my mom, mostly trying to convince me to come back home or at least to visit. Emma's messages were laced with a mix of concern and thinly veiled judgment, while my mom's were more apologetic. I haven't responded yet. I'm still processing everything and trying to figure out how I want to move forward. Part of me wants to cut ties completely and focus on my new life. I'm torn between wanting to rebuild my relationship with them and needing to protect myself from further hurt. Overall, things are starting to feel more stable. I'm finding my footing and slowly building a life that feels true to who I am. I know there's a long road ahead, but for the first time in a long time, I'm hopeful about the future. Thank you again for all your support and advice. It means more to me than I can express. Update 2: It's been about 6 months since I left home, and I wanted to share some more updates and reflections. Life has continued to be a roller coaster, but I'm making progress. I've been steadily working on my illustration career, and it's beginning to pay off. I've landed a few more projects and have even started getting some repeat clients. The work is still inconsistent, but I'm learning to manage my finances better and plan for leaner times. The coffee shop job is still going strong, and it provides a bit of stability while I continue to grow my art. I've also been focusing on my personal growth. Therapy has been instrumental in helping me rebuild my self-esteem and work through the emotional impact of my family's favoritism. I've started practicing mindfulness and self-compassion, and it's made a huge difference in how I view myself. I'm learning to appreciate my own successes without comparing them to anyone else's. Regarding my family, I've had a few more interactions with them, mostly through text and occasional phone calls. They've been more understanding and supportive recently, which has been both surprising and difficult to navigate. My mom has expressed regret for how she treated me, and Emma has been less judgmental in her messages. Despite this, I'm still hesitant to visit or fully reconnect. I'm cautious about falling back into old patterns and need to protect my newfound sense of self-worth. The guilt I felt about leaving has lessened over time. I'm starting to accept that prioritizing my own mental health and happiness was the right choice. I'm still uncertain about how to handle future interactions with my family, but I'm focusing on continuing to build my life in a way that feels right for me. Thank you again for all your support and encouragement. It's been invaluable to me. Update 3: It's been a year since I left home, and I wanted to give you all an update on how things are going. A lot has changed, and I'm starting to feel more settled and confident in my new life. Work-wise, things are looking up. My illustration career has picked up significantly. I'm now working with a few small publishers and have even been asked to contribute to some art shows. It's not a steady stream of income yet, but it's more consistent than before, and I'm finally starting to see the fruits of my labor. The coffee shop job has been a good support, but I'm hoping to phase it out soon as my art career grows. I'm also feeling a lot more grounded in my personal life. Therapy continues to be a key part of my routine. My therapist and I have been working on setting long-term goals and building resilience. I've learned to manage stress better and have developed healthier coping mechanisms. This has made a huge difference in how I handle challenges and setbacks. Regarding my family, the situation has evolved. I've had a few more conversations with my mom and Emma. Our talks have been less about comparisons and more about understanding each other's perspectives. My mom has been particularly remorseful and has expressed a genuine desire to mend our relationship. She's been making an effort to show support for my career and has even started to attend some of my local art shows, which I appreciate. Emma has been less involved in our conversations, which I think is for the best. She seems to be focusing more on her own life. There's still a bit of residual awkwardness, but it's manageable. I've found that setting boundaries and clearly communicating my needs has helped a lot in keeping interactions positive. I'm slowly starting to build a new support network in my city. I've joined a local artist collective and have met some wonderful people who share similar interests and values. It's been refreshing to be surrounded by people who understand the struggles and joys of pursuing a creative career. Overall, I'm feeling more confident and self-assured. The journey hasn't been easy, and there are still challenges ahead, but I'm proud of how far I've come. I'm learning to appreciate the progress I've made and to celebrate my own successes, no matter how small they might seem. Thank you all once again for your continued support and encouragement. It's been invaluable in helping me navigate this journey and find my way. I'm excited about the future and am hopeful that things will continue to improve. Thanks for tuning in to today's Reddit story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss out on more amazing stories. See you next time.